Justin has requested me on Patreon to review Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, a movie that famously did not perform well in its original release, but eventually gained a sizable following. Although I've been a fan of the movie since day one, and even consider this my favorite film directed by Edgar Wright. This is a highly inventive comedy that encompasses so much what I love about his work, and one I'm always happy to revisit. So what makes Scott Pilgrim vs. the World such a delightful experience? First of all is the approach Wright took with his direction, as he embraces the video game influence of the source material. There are constant visual nods to the story seemingly taking place inside of a world where anything is possible, and he incorporates a number of visual elements from video games, especially when launching into the fight scenes. He also successfully utilized the visual language of Bradley O'Malley's graphic novels while translating it to a film medium. If you look at Edgar Wright's movies, he's not a director interested in making conventional films, as he loves to play around with the editing and what's possible in the frame. The way he uses scene transitions is one of the most recognizable trademarks of his work, and Scott Pilgrim has plenty of creative uses for them. There's so many clever background gags and other details that add so much to the unique version of Toronto presented here. Speaking of Toronto, the movie really knows how to use the city. Wright could have taken the approach of showing off the more famous and touristy sections of Toronto, but the film instead gives us a decent variety. So we get familiar sights like the Casa Loma and a few shots of the CN Tower, but there's also a local record shop, as well as the music venues that Scott and his friends perform at. And while famous American chains like Starbucks and Pizza Hut do have locations in Toronto, Wright instead opted to showcase Canadian franchises like Second Cup and Pete's Pizza to give it that local flavor. The casting is also on point, with the actors really embodying the characters. Michael Cera is great as Scott and willing to show some of his less positive traits. Even though he is the central protagonist, he does make a lot of selfish decisions and is shown to be prone to hurting people for his actions, and I like how part of his arc is realizing that. Mary Elizabeth Winstead also stands out as Ramona Flowers, who I actually find the most interesting character in the story. She is someone dealing with a lot for her past actions, and there's a sad element to the fact that even as she tries to get away, her past relationships keep coming back into her life. You can tell that even though she likes Scott, she has a fear that he might turn into the next evil ex. She's someone haunted by her past and the people in her life who cannot seem to let go. Meanwhile, Jason Schwartzman brings the right smarmy quality to Gideon, the head of the League of Evil Exes, and Chris Evans also leaves an impression as movie star Lucas Lee. Honestly, as much as I enjoy him as Captain America, I've always liked Evans best when he plays villains. Among the other actors, I think Kieran Culkin and Alison Pill have probably some of the funniest line readings. Another major component to the movie's success is the music. Edgar Wright's song choices have long been an integral part of the appeal of his movies, and with Scott Pilgrim, he got the opportunity to include original songs that were pivotal to the narrative. Beck wrote a lot of the songs featured here, which perfectly fit the garage band style of Sex Bomb. The opening song already starts things off with a bang, and some of the other songs performed by Scott's band, like Threshold and Garbage Truck, also leave a memorable impression. Another standout song is Black Sheep, which was written by the band Metric and performed in the movie by Brie Larson as Scott's ex-girlfriend Envy Adams. It has an energetic beat to it, which makes it easy to understand why the Clash of Demon Head became such a successful band. However, my favorite song in the movie is Ramona, which Scott initially sings to her, and that Beck performs a longer version during the end credits. It's a lovely song that does perfectly fit the character and her relationship with Scott. Another major element of the movie involves the action. Even though we watched Scott fight 7 evil exes, Wright made sure they did not feel repetitive, and some of the visual and audio flourishes do fit the exes and their specific personalities, like Lucas Lee being introduced with the universal fanfare, and then later using his stunt doubles to fight Scott. The script is so cleverly written by Wright and Michael Bacall, with so many hilarious and memorable lines that are specific to these characters and their attitudes. That's able to handle these several characters and make even minor ones have a lot of personality, plus adapt the multiple volumes of the graphic novel into an almost 2-hour movie is a huge credit to the screenwriters. As someone who has always loved this movie, it's nice to see it receive a lot more attention now. I remember seeing Scott Pilgrim vs. the World on opening day, and the theater was packed, so for a moment it seemed like it could do well. Instead, the opposite happened, and it quickly came and went from theaters. Maybe the subject matter was too niche, or maybe it had to do with the bizarre and undeserving backlash against Michael Cera at the time, but it just did not attract much interest from moviegoers. However, I had an inkling that time would be kind to Scott Pilgrim, and more people would find it on video, and it's great to see it blossom, to the point Netflix even produced an animated series that provided its own clever telling of the story. I've liked pretty much everything I've seen from Edgar Wright, and as you can see, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World ranks at the top for me, thanks to the imaginative storytelling and filmmaking, the hilarious script, the great interactions between the actors, and how it explores the arcs of Scott and Ramona. Now, if you've seen the movie, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for the request, Justin.